Hello there, football fans. Welcome to the Mercurial Trequartistas Gamecast, your weekly fix of footballing flair, finesse, fireworks, and folklore. By way of introduction, I'm Dathan, and joining me is my co-host, the man who knows the ending to a game well before the opening whistle. Mark, how are we feeling?
I'm totally all good. Although we're getting close to a quarter of the way through the show, so I'm off for a hydration break.
So, what's on the menu today? Well, the World Cup is in full flow. Week one of everybody's favourite tournament is purring like the engine inside the Night Industries 2000. We will cover several talking points from the first week and also flashpoints that have occurred so far. So, let's dive straight into things. World Cup talking points. Let's start with story number one. So, I've begun with Messi has begun by making the tournament his again. So, Argentina opened with a 3-0 win over Algeria. But Messi scored a hat-trick, which immediately gave the World Cup its first great individual headline. For Argentina, the value was not merely sentimental. I think I always believe that champions, they often need to, put down a marker and sort of show an early display of authority to quiet any doubts. And I think they did that. And more broadly, it confirmed that even in a tournament that's designed to showcase the future, the present can still be dominated by one of the game's all-time greats. But thoughts on Messi?
It was a really good start, start with a bang, get a hat trick, and yeah, make a nice early claim for that golden boot. He's still got it. I'm sure Ronaldo was over the moon when he saw the hat trick going.
We will come to like Ronaldo, but on the subject of the golden boots, obviously Messi's in the front running, but who else do you think will be the forerunners for the golden boot?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? So a lot of the time, it's which team stays in. I mean, Kane's going to be up there, Mbappe as well. Um, but
Haaland,
then saying that, sometimes you get sort of like a random hat trick, like last night from was it David for Canada,
Jonathan
and
David, yes.
sometimes that gives you a really good shout as well. So yeah,
But Mark, you've not mentioned Haaland. To me, he's the best striker in the world still.
who?
Uh, no surprises, Mark
I,
doesn't
I
mention
I don't
Haaland.
yeah. I don't think Norway are going to stay in long enough for Haaland to have a shout. Although I would love it if it did happen.
This is the World Cup, so we won't really be focusing on the Premier League, but at some point you will have to make a decision as to whether or not next season Haaland is going to be included in your team. But that's a topic for another day, not today, perhaps. Story number two, Mbappe in France. They've begun with, how would I describe it? Ominous assurance. So France's 3-1 victory over Senegal was significant. Um, France haven't really opened in a manner that suggests tension or uncertainty, but they look pretty composed and clinical and largely comfortable as and when they played, especially in the second half, because Senegal, they had decent chances in the first half, which they should have put away. What do you think? France are looking good. Mbappe, people, like there were murmurings about, oh, he isn't as good as he was, blah, blah, blah. His form has dipped. He's been at Real. It's not worked out for him this season. But he certainly answered his critics.
Well, yeah, I mean Mbappe's not quite as good. Is still pretty pretty good compared to a lot of players. So it was a much better start than the last time France played Senegal in an opener. Senegal did have the moments. They did have a few little chances here and there, but when it came to it, France upped it. They had another level, and once they hit that level, I don't think Senegal really cope with it over an elongated amount of time. And yeah, three goals, about right. Mbappe, I think he'll probably get stronger as the tournament goes on. So it doesn't matter who France are playing as long as he's on the pitch, he's going to be a threat.
If we move on to story number three, so I wouldn't really describe this as an upset, but Spain's draw with Cape Verde, it raised a few eyebrows, shall we say. So Spain have always widely been regarded as one of the more polished and credible contenders for the World Cup. They drew 0-0 with Cape Verde. Not an upset, but a bit of a surprise, or like even a small shock, especially given Cape Verde's sort of standing in world football and Spain's standing as well. So they are at polar opposites of the scale. And Cape Verde don't really have a World Cup pedigree. Spain are former winners, of course, and they have great players. But any thoughts?
Great performance from the keeper. Uh, nice early. I mean, it's still an upset. Getting a nil-nil draw against Spain. That's ridiculously good for Cape Verde and really reassuring for anybody that ended up with Cape Verde in the World Cup sweepstake. So you never know.
Like your
The keeper performance though was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, really, really made up for him. He was up against it all the way through, and Spain have, top quality players, and some of them saves weren't exactly easy, but he did his job, and yeah, a deserved man of the match performance there.
you are perhaps one of the most famous members of the Goalkeepers Union, and you are definitely singing the praises of your fellow member there. We move on
It's
to
the most important
four.
position on the pitch.
We move on to story number four. So Portugal, I describe them as opening under pressure rather than having a game that was controlled. So they drew 1-1 with DR Congo. How would I describe it? I'd say that it's brought scrutiny rather than relief. And most people seem to focus on Cristiano Ronaldo's display and also how the team seemed to be set up to sort of play, well, towards his strengths even now at this age. In fairness, all great teams do that. Like Norway are doing it for Haaland, France are going to do it for Mbappe and for Dembele as well. Messi, Argentina, even at this age, they will, set up to play accordingly. But the other half of the story is that Congo weren't really passive, and I think it was Wissa who scored, and it was their first goal in World Cup history. Um, I get the feeling that Congo are not one of the so-called, and I don't mean this in like a disrespectful way, and like I don't like it when like people use this term, but Congo are not a lesser team by any stretch based upon what we've seen. But how do you think they will do, and how do you think Portugal will do moving forwards?
Wissa's goal was really good. The celebration was even better. Um, Congo were really good for that draw against Portugal. Portugal have had this before where they've looked a little bit disjointed with the rest of the team and Ronaldo, and this game just fell perfectly into that category. I, there's not really that much jeopardy in the World Cup routes. While you've got three teams from each group that can qualify, depending on how good you are relative to another group's third team, you don't really need to do a whole lot to get over the line. And I think Congo might just have enough to sneak it through. Good point against Portugal. And if they play like that in the other two games, then they've got every chance of getting something there. Three draws, one win. It's enough probably to get you through as one of the top third place teams. So, which is it's down to the format, isn't it? They sort of opened up the format. They wanted more teams. They wanted another extra round of games. But how many teams get knocked out? Congo could do it.
And I agree as well on Portugal. I agree wholly with both points. We move on to story number five. So Germany's 7-1 win. I describe it as the tournament's most emphatic statement of intent so far. How would we describe it? Imagine Lord Megatron in Transformers and he wants to discipline a lowly Decepticon. That's the kind of beating that Germany handed out to like Curacao. Apart from the scoreline, the manner of such a victory in the group stage, where goal difference may become highly consequential, was very, very important for Germany. Of course, Germany haven't won anything yet. They've won one game, but they look pretty damn good.
Yeah, really, really imposing, weren't they? And they didn't take the foot off the pedal. It wasn't a case of, oh, we've got four, let's ease up. It was no, go again, go again, go again. And unfortunately for Kuriko, uh, the ball ended up in the net 7 times. They gave it a go, but big golfing class. If they're going to maintain sort of the bigger format for the World Cup, we're probably going to see that more in future tournaments. But they got a goal that was, that was probably punching way above the weight. And yeah, unfortunately for Curacao, I think they are well and truly in the category of we're just happy to be here.
They've got two more games to go. Let's see how they do. But I think it's a given that Germany are going to be one of the favourites. I mean, but we discussed this prior to the World Cup. There's always that sort of core cadre of teams that sort of you just know, the more established nations who are previous winners, and Germany are definitely part of that bunch. Let's move on to story number six, and another team who also, like Germany, look pretty damn good, and that's England. The 4-2 win over Croatia felt substantial, especially in the second half. It was perhaps one of the most entertaining matches as well of the early tournament. It was hugely impressive. In terms of the goals, they all came across really well, and England, they are usually judged not only on results, but certainly at home where we are, but on the mood that they generate around themselves. The football was good, and it was the sort of start that tends to produce optimism rather than argument. Um, it's only one match, but what do you reckon?
Well, it was it was pretty much a game of two halves or four quarters. The first half I thought was it was very nervy. Um, when it was good, but it looked like a lot of the old kind of defensive jitters at the back during the first half, especially when they were passing it around the back, so close to losing the ball. And it was clear they had a bit of a telling off at half time because they came out and took the game really strongly to Croatia, who couldn't live with them. That first 10, 15 minutes after the second half, there could have been three goals easily. And the goalkeeper basically kept them in it. So, yeah, second half, very reassuring. And they have slipped up against Croatia before in the past. So, they should feel completely justified with the performance, with the result. And yeah, play like that against the bigger teams. And every chance of getting a result. But yeah, it felt like it was turning into a bit of a saga, didn't it, in the first half? It was like, oh no, what now?
I mean, it is a very good start. I mean, I think England play Ghana on Sunday and then Panama for the final. Pretty much Ghana are always a team that I love watching. I saw them for the first time in the 2006 World Cup, which was, gosh, 20 years ago. They were brilliant, and they've always been a team that I try and watch then. I mean, I love watching them in the African Cup of Nations each time that tournament's held. I think that will be a tough game, but I think England should get through. And Panama, as long as England keep their wits about themselves and are organised, I think they should be okay. And in terms of the other, sort of second place team, I mean, I expect Croatia to get through. Croatia are a top-notch team. They always are very well organised, top players, solid all the way through, and they showed that against England. But England were just that little bit better all over the pitch in the second half, and it showed in the final score. So much to look forward to there. Right, moving on to story number seven. I was just going to talk a bit about the host. So I like these tournaments where it's spread across various jurisdictions. So Mexico, the USA, and Canada. So Mexico have beaten South Africa 2-0. The United States, they beat Paraguay 4-1 in their opener. Canada drew 1-1 with Bosnia and Herzegovina in the first game, but they beat Qatar 6-0. I almost said 6-0 then, but it was 6-0 in their second game. Canada looking good. And you mentioned Jonathan David, another hat trick. Mexico are always a team who sort of do get through all the way up to the quarterfinals. They're solid. But apparently, like, we've spoken about curses. Well, I mean, like in the past, I think Mexico have a thing whereby they are convinced, a bit like England about a few years ago, that they will never get beyond the quarterfinals. So people over there, they are worried about this. That's one which we could maybe cover in the weeks ahead, if we can find out a bit more information about it. And America are very well organised. They've, had a very good record at World Cups over the last 20 or 30 years. So I expect them to qualify easily. But yeah, the hosts are doing well. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. Or I can move on to Group C, which I think is one of the most intriguing sections so far. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, been willing to see all the hosts winning. I mean, Mexico have the first team to qualify for the next round. Been played some good stuff. USA were impressive with their big win, and they've got Australia next, which could be another game with quite a few goals. But I've been enjoying Canada. Canada's gutsy attacking play and some of it very 4-4-2 throwback has been very good to watch. Bit of a sickener last night with Kone getting the broken leg. Hopefully, it's a quick recovery.
Yes.
But yeah, Qatar did as much as they could to help them. I mean, getting two men sent off, in one match is just ridiculous. And even some of the challenges flying in after the second red card, it was just inexperience.
Mhm.
But Canada went about it, did the job, got some really good goals. Could have got more, but I think the referee went with the sympathy route and did not put all the added time on that they probably could have done at the end of that match. But yeah, hopefully Kone is going to be on the road to recovery very soon.
Yes. And I understand that there was a bit of a skirmish at the final whistle. I mean, it was probably just like handbags at 10 paces, but what happened there?
Well, I mean, it was all the way through the match. I mean, after it had happened, I think the Canada bench didn't really like the reaction of the Qatar bench. The players went at it, and then people realized how serious the injury was. Um, the guy who got the red card. He looked like he was in tears when he realized the scale. And apparently, he did go in the dressing room afterwards to make a proper apology to the Canadian team. But there were some strange interactions. I mean, if you look at the full time handshake as well. The Qatar manager is clearly saying something that the Canada manager is not okay with.
Mm.
So we don't know what got said there, but I don't know. I think Qatar didn't really have a grip of the players, of the situation, and probably could have done with just getting off the pitch.
I was just going to say extremely quickly, it's nice to see Jesse Marsh doing well. I quite liked him at Leeds. He wasn't there all that long, but he had a lot of fights and gumption, and he had a big personality, and that's coming through in his team. And so let's hope they keep doing well. But one to watch. And should we move on to point number eight? So, to
Oh
me,
yeah, go for it.
out of all the groups so far, Group C has become the most intriguing. So, Scotland, they beat Haiti in a first game, so they ended a 28-year absence from the World Cup with a result of real emotional and practical value. Because the other two contenders in the group are Brazil and Morocco, both of whom are fine teams. So. Morocco held Brazil to a 1-1 draw. That was a really good game. Both goals in that game were superb. But Scotland do have immediate hope. I think they play Morocco tonight on Friday night, and that should be a tough game. We've spoken a lot about Morocco in the year gone by in connection with the African Cup of Nations. They are a fine team, and they have to play after that in the third game Brazil, which is never an easy game. But to me, this is the best group. It's just the tightest, and we all have a true soft spot for Scotland, and we want them to get through. I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it. So, this is the group that's causing, just the most interest for me.
Well, the ten it was tense, wasn't it? The first Scotland game, but I think that was because the pressure was on. I think they knew if they were going to have a chance of getting out of the group, they needed a result in that game. But the next two games, they could probably feel like it's they're in the outsider zone, and Scotland are very good in that role and causing the upsets. So yeah, I think that might suit them a little bit better. But yeah, I think the Scottish fans have gone down very well in America, and hopefully they can stay in the tournament as long as possible. But Scotland, outsiders, back against the wall. Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. Two more points for this week. So the 48 team format, it's already changing the tournament's texture. So prior to kickoff, which was last Thursday, much of the discussion around the expansion of the World Cup, it was theoretical. People just didn't know how it was going to pan out. But 8 days in, 9 days in, I should say, today, it's more concrete. There's more nations, many more unfamiliar matchups, which I was a bit skeptical about at the start, but there's been some cracking games so far. And there's been more opportunities for outsiders who'd never really played in a World Cup to influence the narrative. And we're seeing this in the case of Spain, in the case of various other teams. So the structure also changes the value of results because, as you mentioned, because third place teams now can qualify. And this keeps groups alive for longer and makes every margin matter. So I think prior to the tournament, people were a bit critical of the expansion, but I think it's worked pretty well so far. And it's made the opening week feel less predictable and more varied because in years gone by, less teams, so, teams of closer standards, they were all put together and you kind of knew how matches were going to pan out. But it's been a lot less predictable and as I say, more varied this week. But what do you reckon to all this?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to the format. I mean, previously when it was like two teams from four, you would see more games where countries would set up not to lose. Now it's a case of okay, three teams potentially from each group go through. Go out there and get the win because then at least you know you've got a good shout at the third spot. So it's opened it up like that a little bit. Um, Again, the old format, you could end up with dead games for the third one. Uh, it is going to keep it lively till the end because in theory, you're still going to have every last game matter for something. But like the Curacao thing, the downside is you are going to end up with games where there's such a gulf, and it's a case of it's not a contest. So I don't know. That's a bit of a downside. But the games by and large have been incredibly entertaining. Um, I enjoyed watching the second half of the Netherlands Japan game. That was good. And then even the games that have started slow have ended up having some kind of I don't know action-packed period in the game. I mean, the Switzerland game the other night, it was 0-0 till about the 74th minute, and then there's 5 goals and a red card.
Mm,
Crackers.
and the Norway game as well. That
Yeah.
was very exciting.
Norway, yeah, yeah. There's somebody plays for them. I can't remember who, but they got a couple of goals.
Sander
Yeah.
Berger.
Sorry.
Sander Berger. Him, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, story number 10, and we have to talk about this one, I've left it until the end, but cooling breaks. So they've become a serious football argument in the last 9 days, and Jurgen Klopp's name has been drawn into it. So the use of scheduled hydration or cooling breaks at the World Cup has become a bit of an off-field story, with FIFA presenting the policy as a player welfare measure in response to heat concerns across parts of North America. And this is true because I can remember in the 2006 World Cup in Germany, they also had breaks as well because it was so damn hot. The players needed it. I can remember people saying at the time that it's so hot people shouldn't be playing football in the afternoon because a player's, health could really be adversely affected. But the football objection is straightforward enough. Such stoppages can interrupt the flow of the game and it can alter the natural rhythm of a match and hand coaches an additional moment for tactical instructions. Klopp's name, I've mentioned Kloppy. It's featured quite prominently in this debate, but with an important caveat. While there's been some quite genuine criticism of the breaks and of their commercial implications, some of the more dramatic quotes attributed to Klopp have been disputed, have been disputed or debunked in subsequent reporting. So the underlying controversy is real enough, and it's become a wider argument about player safety, broadcasting demands, and the increasing fragmentation of elite football. And it's one of the more substantial non-playing stories of the tournament's opening week. But look, I mean, off camera, we've spoken about it a lot this week. But what do you reckon?
It's effectively a tactical timeout. uh, which is earning squillions of dollars for advertising companies. I understand it for the stadiums where they are incredibly hot and the conditions are incredibly difficult, but they've got air-conditioned stadiums that are keeping the temperature around about 20 degrees C. You don't really need a hydration break there. And I think it's affected probably the outsider teams, the teams that you're not expecting to get a good result against a really good team. There's been times where they've been on top of the game and looking good, and then the hydration breaks come along, and all of a sudden, the more experienced nation has made a little tactical tweak, and they get back on top of the game. So great for them. But it's yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to see the game become four quarters,
Yeah,
and I am concerned that they're going to see the amount of money that they've made from the advertising and seriously consider it. I don't think it's not a great move. Certainly not for sort of like European football or anything like that. I think the US wanted to have it as four quarters back in the day anyway, when they first had the World Cup in '94, and one of the conditions for that was to bring in their own, professional league. And they looked at all kinds of things to change the game. Goals being scored from outside of the area being worth more points.
I
You
remember
know,
that.
the weird penalty shootout thing where you're dribbling the ball hockey style towards the keeper and then taking a shot after three touches or so. And they all got, you know, they didn't get very far because ultimately it's got to be the same game worldwide.
In terms of the finances, this is something that may well be driven by that rather than sporting tradition, shall we say. But two quick points from me. I can remember in the '94 World Cup, we were very young, but what was introduced was players' names on the backs of shirts for the first time, and that stuck. That was actually introduced back then. And the second thing is that, I mean, on this point, games of four quarters, a lot of American sports, I think, they are sports are played across four quarters, and it is to do with TV advertising, of course, but could it happen in Europe? I mean, certainly, in the heart of the winter, there's no need for a hydration break. It could be more like a heating break. I mean, at Christmas, it could be like, like
Yeah.
tea and mince pies, like every,
Oh,
like in the quarters, sponsored by
oh,
Greg's.
yep.
Who knows?
Oh,
It could happen.
I don't know. I don't know. No, 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 no. Down with that sort of thing. I refuse.
Heating break in the winter, but no, that's good. That's good. But let's see. But it's been a good World Cup so far. There's been a lot of really pleasing games, and I don't know. The standard of games it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But I could remember, I've always said that the World Cup in America 20, no, it was 32 years ago. That was one of the best I'd ever seen because all the games were so open and just free flowing. And the same thing's being seen
Yeah,
here. It's very,
yeah,
very enjoyable. But this time it isn't just America, but it's Canada and Mexico as well. But it's wonderful. There's been some great matches and some super goals. Oh, and
yeah.
just one question.
Oh,
The ball that they're using, it's not, it just doesn't bounce the same way as in the Prem, does it? It's like a different ball, isn't it? The physics of it
Yeah, yeah,
are
yeah. It
different.
could be. I think there are differences to the way the ball's played indoors as well. In the indoor stadiums, it's I think it's like tennis, isn't it? When the Wimbledon roof shuts, and all
Mm.
of a sudden the balls start flying a little bit differently. I think we're seeing that with the football in the indoor stadiums. So yeah, I mean, it's not quite as bad as the infamous Javelani ball, which just flew everywhere. And I remember after that World Cup, our local league used Javelani balls for a season.
Yeah,
It was carnage. They didn't use them the following season.
I can imagine. But thinking about South Africa in 2020, it was two things the first few weeks. It was the Jabulani ball and the vuvuzelas, the
Yeah,
sound. It
I
was
can still hear
really, yeah,
them.
that was interesting. But I mean, I can remember after a few games, like your brain just adapted to it. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I mean, as fans, it was different initially, and it was just like, this sound is just always there, but it's
yeah,
part of the culture of the football there, so you have to
yeah.
expect it, of course.
I, I
But then,
I was
after
fine with it. Atmosphere wise, it was,
yeah, it was a cracking World Cup in
brilliant
like South
atmosphere there.
Africa, so yeah. Good stuff. But yeah, so we will cover week two of the World Cup next week. So that's all we have time for this week. Until the next time, do keep the faith and like and subscribe to our channels on various social media and get involved there if you're so inclined. We are back sometime next week with more TMTG goodness. Till the next time, until all are one.